Hey y'all, it's Susan. Crazy for Dolly is my channel, and I am going to start working on a project that I ordered a few months ago from SaCrafters. I was really excited about this project. Basically, I had a paper stack and this product that really inspired me. So this is the SaCrafter carousel, and I'll put a link below, but it's really cute. It has like all these animals that come with it. Saw really did such a nice job on this carousel. And the paper stack that I'm going to use with it is the Heidi Swap Sugar Chic, I think is what it's called, with all the animal print and the pinks and the greens and all of that. And the first thing, Saw has a lot of videos on her channel that shows you how to put together her products. And one thing that she does recommend is that you do a dry fitting right before you do it. You don't want to glue anything yet. You just want to dry fit it and make sure that everything fits the way it's supposed to fit. And if you ever, have any doubts about something not looking right or whatever, you can go to her channel, and I'm sure she has a video on it. I've been wanting to get working on this particularly, so I've already put it together, just a dry fit basically, just to make sure that everything matched up. And somehow you probably want to mark it, which I'm not sure. Yeah, here's my pencil. You just want to probably mark it just to make sure that you know what goes where. So I'm just going to put an X on here because I'm pretty sure that this is the bottom of this piece. Yeah, and it fits properly. And basically it has this stand that it goes on, and you just want to make sure you fully understand it before you put it together. So I have this piece here, which is the bottom of this piece, and it has a wider hole. Let me see if that is right. Yes, this is right. I'm pretty sure of it. So the reason why the wider hole is on the bottom is because there are these right here, and it's going to slip on here. So this hole is wider than this hole. And I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. I'm just going to make sure that this piece goes in here right. And basically when you paint this, you want to make sure you don't paint on the actual pieces, that everything connects, the little pieces that make it all connect together. So let me just see, I want to make sure. I did dry fit all this, but this came loose while I was moving it. So I just want to make sure. See, it's not going in perfectly, so this must not be the right way. And another thing to do is to flip it over, because sometimes there are two sides, so you just want to be aware of that and make sure you know which sides you have where. Let's see here. And I just love her wood stuff, y'all. I have so much fun putting it together. I've always liked wood, as far back as I can remember. This is actually not going in the way I want it to, so I'm not sure if there's some pieces. It looks like there's some pieces that are off, so I'm going to flip it back over. Let's see here. Yep, that's the side right there. Okay, and then we'll make sure that this goes back in there. Alright, yep. See, there is a wrong side and a right side. So that's why you want to dry fit it and just make sure that it fits properly. And then this is going to slide down here. And my bottom's going to slip off. But, and then basically, which you can't see, back this up a little bit, see if you can see it. This is the top part, which is so cute. It's got these little swans on the top. It's going to sit on top of, on top of this. Sorry. She uses rubber bands, which may be very helpful when you're putting those together. But it's basically going to sit on there like this. So I don't know if you can see that, but so you just want to make sure that everything fits okay. Alright. So I'm going to take this apart, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I don't have any gesso. I can't believe I don't have gesso. I mean, I do have gesso, but the gesso I have is for oil painting. I don't think it'll work on wood. At least I've never tried it. I don't know if it's two different types of gesso or not, but I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to use some white paint. Alright, so I need to make sure that this thing is being ornery on me. Just want to make sure that this actually fits right. Yes. Okay, so everything is pretty much flush there. So I'm going to take this off. And it can be really tricky when you're doing this. So I'm just going to put an X here. Oops. And an X here. And that's just probably not going to help me at all because I'm going to paint. So probably what I'm going to do is paint it first. But at least I kind of have an idea of what goes where. And actually I'm going to use paper, so I'm going to go ahead and put an X on here. Alright. I'm going to paper it somehow. And we won't know until after I paint it. And I'm going to, let's see, I'm just going to put little X's on these pieces. Though I think it'll be pretty easy to figure out which ones are what, but I think I might paper all those ends, so it would be nice to know which side I need to paper. Okay. Alright, so that's the first thing you want to do when you get any of her products. I think they're fairly easy to put together, but you know, you have to be interested in it, I guess. I don't know. You have to have some patience, but I find not a lot. So, or else it just doesn't test or try my patience, I should say, because I do enjoy wood so much. I always have. When I was a kid, I wanted to get in the wood shop at my school that I went to, and they of course would not let me because I was a girl. I know y'all are probably thinking, what? You know, but yeah. So I couldn't do it because I was a girl, and quote unquote the vice principal called my mother and said I was trying to get into a class with a bunch of dirty boys. So, but anyway, I think I would have loved it. And to this day, y'all, I still want to do, like, I want to learn how to lathe, and I'd love to learn how to weld, and I mean, there's a lot of things that I think are considered a masculine, or at least were back in that day, that that I find very interesting, that I would like to learn how to do that. And it's funny that I do IT for a living, because that is a male predominant industry. So it's really interesting how I got past those stereotypes or whatever. I didn't care. It wasn't, I don't know. I guess, you know, some girls grow up and want to, you know, I don't know, do feminine things. Not that I think these aren't feminine things, because I just don't see an issue if, you know, if a girl wants to do something that a guy would normally do. I think that's, you know, that's fine, you know, to a degree. I mean, my husband I shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm going to, and I'm probably going to get myself in trouble, but I mean, I'm okay with him taking the garbage out. You know, I think that could be something that a man should do. And I certainly don't mean that the way it sounds, but it sounds horrible. Of course, he will do the dishes, so it's not really fair, and I do the garbage sometimes. It's just not something that, you know, I really want to do, which nobody out there probably really wants to do that. But anyway, so it's funny that I am in the field that I'm in. If I were really clever when I was growing up, I would have argued on the fact that you know, you didn't have to be a boy to be in shops. So I don't know. But it didn't slow me down too much. I used to get in trouble, as a matter of fact. When I was a kid, I would build stuff out of cardboard boxes. And my parents, they weren't real big on, I say my parents, my mom mostly, but she wasn't real big on, holes in the wall and that kind of thing, which is probably understandable. And to this day, I'm very conscious of the holes that I put into other people's walls. My own walls, not so much, but, like if I'm leasing something or something like that, I'm conscious of what, it doesn't belong to me, so don't put any holes in it. But anyway, so I used to build stuff like, I used to build like cardboard cupboards, how do you pronounce that? Little storage things and hang them on my wall. I remember I specifically had one that I built and put it behind my door in my bedroom, and I got busted. And my mom made me take it down. Anyway, so maybe a lot of you are like me. Maybe, you have, always had aspirations to learn how to do wood stuff, and I find it really cool that Saw does this on her own. She cuts all these wood pieces. She designs them and she cuts them, and she's made a business, I think, hopefully, I hope, a very good big business. I love the products that she carries, so, and I haven't bought from her in a while, and I know I got to do that because I got to support Saw. I got to support her small business, and, because she makes a living with that. But anyway, so, I mean, she has another job. She works, I wonder if I paint the inside of this, will that cause me any issue? That's one thing when you're painting these pieces, you want to be careful because it might not fit on there the way it's supposed to fit if you paint it. So you just want to be real careful. I'm just going to lightly paint it. But anyway, so Saw, yeah, she's a really hard worker. She actually has another, or she did, I don't know, she shared in her videos that she has another job, that she works a full-time job, I believe. And plus she's a mother, so she has a son. And so, when people, I try, I know how hard it is, to do all those things, or at least I can imagine that it is very hard. So I try to support her, but I haven't bought in a couple months, so I've got to get something ordered. She's got all kinds of new products that I want to order, but Marilyn kind of put me behind, and I have so many projects here that I haven't worked on, so I need to get busy so I can order more stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do with all this stuff, y'all, because I make it, and then it just sits in this room, so I'm not sure. My husband, I know that he loves me because he loved me with all my dogs, and he tolerates other little probably things that would probably get on other people's nerves, and he also tolerates all my crafts, and and he encourages me in a lot of cases, so I'm a lucky girl. Anyway, I'm talking y'all's ear off, so sorry about that. It's been a while since I've been on, so I've got a lot to say, I guess. So I'm probably going to do this until it's time to go back to lunch, which I've got about 20 minutes, I think. So I think what I'm going to do is, excuse me, I have sniffles. I think what I'm going to do is do this until the time runs out, and then I'll finish this before I come back online, because y'all probably don't want to sit here and watch me paint all this white. I'm basically just putting this on there like I would be doing a gesso, because I'm going to use other colors, and I don't know what they are yet, but they're probably going to be a Martha Stewart paint, and I just didn't want to, I'd like to just do one coat if possible on the Martha Stewart. The gesso makes the paint go on smoother and more evenly, so I'm hoping that I'll get the same effect with just this white paint. That's my goal. So, yep, so I've been back from Memphis, got back last Saturday, and I have had a pretty busy work week, and plus I've been just kind of recuperating, I guess you could say. Just kind of vegging out in the evenings for the last 3 days. It's Thursday afternoon, so the time I've been spending, just recuperating or whatever has been good, but I miss my crafting. And I decided I was going to do this before I left for Memphis, so I was bound and determined to work on it. So it was probably a good thing that I had already decided to do this before I left, because I was just kind of walking through my room going, oh, what am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I don't know what to work on. I'm sure y'all probably have days like that, so, but anyway, so I'm real excited about this one, particularly just because of the paper that I decided to use. I think that Heidi swap paper will be so cool. I think it will be different, and it may be young, I'm not sure, but we'll see. And young, I mean for a young girl, might not be something an adult might have, but you never know, we'll see. Don't really know until you get it done, right? I know what I have this vision in my head, but it could turn out to be very different in reality, so we shall see. It would be neat if I could come up with an idea for a second use for it, other than just it being a carousel, which Saw is so good at. If you ever, need ideas, you should watch her videos. She did one carousel where she put pictures on each panel of her son, and it just turned out really cute. So it's multi-purpose, right? It is a carousel of sorts, and actually I say it's a carousel, but it's actually a what do you call it? I forget. Like those things, starts with a G that you have outside. Gazebo. Yeah, that's what it is. But it has sides on it, and it may turn. I think it does turn, so it is a type of a carousel. And she did a really great job with that. So ideally, it would be really cool to figure out a second use for it. Alright, so there's going to be a lot of this painting. I'm going to paint everything white first. And this carousel is made out of MDF, so it's going to be really sturdy. And before I put it together, I'm actually going to use it, after I paint this, as a template to cut my paper. So I'm going to paint this white first, and then I'm going to use my pieces as a template on the paper that I want to go where, and that way when I put it together, I don't have any issues with measuring it, or that kind of thing. So that will be my second step. And then after that, that's when I'll start using some other paints with color to complement the paper, basically, and then embellish. Alright. So, yeah, Monday I had a server issue. But it turned out to not be an issue, so that was good. I was able to recover from it real quickly with some help from a coworker, because it had to do with this thing called IIS, which y'all wouldn't even care to know what it is, but it's kind of a specialty area, sort of. Each IT person has different specialties. And some have a lot of specialties, and some only have one specialty. And my particular specialty is I do software. I like software. I do business support. So I support most everything that's in a small business. And I'm really good at Exchange, which is email, and I'm really good at some of the basic things like terminal server. I'm pretty good at all that. Managing servers, that kind of thing, I'm pretty good at. But software, I kind of like it sometimes. I really like Exchange, which Exchange is a software, so it's kind of in the same field, sort of, but not. I mean, there are people that just do Exchange, so, but in my mind, it kind of falls in that same category as software. And I don't mean I don't write the code or anything like that. I do not develop software. What I like to do is I like to work with it, you know, manage it, install it, manage it, make it work. Sometimes I like to troubleshoot it. I mean, I'd really rather not do that on a regular basis, because usually when you're troubleshooting, it's in the middle of a moment that's critical, and but anyway, so I like software. I'm kind of curious about it, and I try to figure out, why something doesn't work. But anyway, so you have different people that do different things. Some people do, like infrastructure, which is the backbone, the network part of it, which I do not care for. I do have to work with it a lot in my day-to-day, but I'm not fond of it. There are people that, do hardware who are really, really, really good hardware. And again, that's another thing that I do on a daily basis, but it's not one of my favorite things, I'm not a hardware nerd. I do like some hardware, don't get me wrong. But there are some people who really like hardware. They can tell you everything about every single processor, brand, speed. I'm not really into that much. I do like to have good equipment when, at my client site, so I'm into it to a degree. But I'm not one of those people. Anyway, so yeah, I had a little bit of an issue. Oh, and then you have web, right? You have your website people and that kind of thing. That's kind of a different field too. And what the problem I had on Monday, it was kind of related to that stuff, to website stuff. But anyway, so we survived that, and it turned out to be a pretty decent day. Excuse me. And then Tuesday was not a bad day. I'm just getting caught up with all my stuff that I have. I work on tickets. I have tickets where I work. So I was really just trying to get caught up on my tickets. And I think I'm getting there. Now, I'm kind of painting this haphazardly, so if y'all are doing this along with me, you might want to wait, because I'm not really sure how this is going to affect us putting this together. You might want to just wait till the next video when we start actually piecing things together, because anytime you paint something that connects, like, you don't really want to get paint in between this, because it's going to make it tighter. And you may have to do something to make it fit again. So, just an FYI there. Oh, and the weather has been crazy here in Florida. I don't know about where y'all are at, but it's been raining every day, and it does do it at a certain time of the day. But I had to go out in it on Tuesday. I think that's right. Yeah, Tuesday, that's right. And I had to ship a laptop back to one of my clients. And I live on an island, so it's kind of, I'm not on either side. I'm very close to the water on either side. It's basically an island. And it's, gosh, I don't know how many miles. It's quite a few miles. If anybody knows anything about Melbourne, then you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, so there was a thunderstorm on the way to the shipper, and the lightning was striking right beside me. It was crazy, y'all. I've never seen such a thing. I felt like it was like right... I wish I could tell you how many feet. It's a 2-lane road. And then you have houses, right, on either side of the road. But then when you go past those houses, you have the ocean on one side and Indian River on the other. I think that's what that river is called. So there, I mean, you know, there's not a lot of land between the two, and then that lightning was striking land. It was crazy. It's so funny because I called my husband and I said, "Do I need to pull over?" And he's like, you know, he probably just shook his head. That girl doesn't know anything. But he said, "No, you have tires. You'll be fine." But really, I'm telling you, gosh, y'all, it seemed like it was right on top of me. And that was pretty scary. But that's how it is living on an island. When the weather is wicked, it is wicked. I mean, and if you're any kind of paranoid, that's probably going to stick. Let me see. If you're any kind of paranoid, you don't want to live on an island. Because, you know, last year during hurricane season, we weren't here. We were in Maryland most of that time. So, you know, it's beginning hurricane season here. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what I would do if a hurricane came through here. I mean, I'm assuming that I would just load the dogs up, load the mother-in-law up, get in the truck, and head north. You know, I mean, that's what I'm thinking. But I do live on an island. It's a 2-lane road. So, you know, if there were any kind of official evacuation, it would be ugly. The only people, which I don't think boat would be a good idea either, but I mean, really, it's when you kind of think about it, it can be kind of crazy. And that ocean is wicked. And when you look at it, it's so massive, and I don't know, it really makes you think a lot. That's all I can say. She's big. That's all I know. That ocean is big, and it just would take her 2 seconds to wipe me out, or my whole house, my whole street. But anyway, I do believe in God, and I believe, you know, in whatever's meant to be happens. So, I mean, sometimes you don't want to just put yourself in harm's way just because of that. But, you know, but I don't know. But I do like living here because it is you know, to me and my husband, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And, you know, we would never live here full-time because it is, you know, an island. It is a 2-lane road, and I think you're just eventually going to have a lot of issues, you know. I think you can't avoid that. I think that I mean, we've had some pretty nasty hurricanes come through, and I'm pretty sure this area has probably seen a lot of hurricane devastation. So, and it's funny because there's a real interesting story about this area. I mean, it all came about. It became a civilized place because of a hurricane, you know. Back in the, what is it, the 1700s, I guess. They call this Treasure Island, and there's a reason why they call it Treasure Island. It's real interesting, and I'm sure that I'll mess up the story because my husband's the one that's a history buff. But we did go to the museum, and it was really interesting. This place used to be a jungle, basically, and it was inhabited by cannibals. And, gosh, I think it was 17 ships back in the 1700s. Please don't quote me on any of my numbers. If you're interested in history at all, please look it up and get the proper information. But the ships were coming from, oh gosh, where were they coming from? They were coming from somewhere in the United States, which wasn't the United States back then. But where was it coming from? They were Spanish ships, and they came, maybe it was Florida, a part in Florida, that's very possible. Another part in Florida, they went there to pick up some type of an import. And then they were on their way back to Spain, and then, you know, the hurricanes happened and sunk basically 17 ships. And they sunk all along the Treasure Coast. But anyway, so that's why they call it the Treasure Coast. And people actually still find treasure. It's really cool. And it's usually after a hurricane happens, when the sands get really moved and pushed around in the ocean. Some people have like been walking down the beach and find a huge green stone and go, wow, this is really pretty. So they pick it up, not knowing that it is I want to say like an uncut emerald, but I say uncut only because we cut them to be like 1, 2, 3 carats. You know, back in that day, the carats were probably like 10 and 15, 20, you know, whatever. And, you know, and they find this stuff, and in this museum, they keep track of all of the stuff that's found, and they have found so much, like pottery, and anyway, so the story is that these ships crashed or sunk due to a hurricane back in the 1700s, and there were only so many survivors. I wish I could remember the number. I think it's like 1,500. Like 1,500 survivors out of all those 17 ships, and that number might be grossly wrong, but there were some women and children that survived, and they found themselves on an island that was inhabited by cannibals and also had a huge bug problem. We have these things called midges. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. A lot of people don't talk about them or even admit that they're here, but they're called no-see-ums. And that's what Floridians call them, no-see-ums, but they're actually called midges. And they're tiny, you can barely see them, and they bite you, and the bite it stings. It's a little more severe than a mosquito bite. Mosquito bite doesn't hurt really, it's the itch you have afterwards. Well, the no-see-ums do kind of sting, and then the itch doesn't come until a little bit later, at least my experience. And you can just have hundreds of them, and your whole body can just be covered by all these little bumps. And it happens at certain times of the year, when it's real hot outside, when the wind is not blowing, depending on where you're at. But it's worse to me. It's worse than having poison ivy. And there's not really anything that takes care of the itch. The only thing I found to take care of the itch is a weird thing. I use a blow dryer. But the blow dryer, the heat from the blow dryer is the only thing that actually takes care of the itch for me. None of that old school stuff like calamine lotion and oatmeal baths, none of that works. So anyway, so these people had survived, and they were on the beach. They were basically living on the beach, and the women and children had to be buried because the bugs were so massive, so they bury them up to their necks, and you know, and to keep the bugs off of them. But then they would have to worry about, you know, I guess you would refer to them as Indians from back in that day, you know, because they were cannibals. So, interesting story, though. You probably never, if you don't know a lot of history about Florida and some of the parts in Florida, you might not ever have realized that. I would never have guessed that this was at one time a jungle. Makes perfectly good sense if you think about it. I mean, you know, but you just never think about it, or at least I never did. Anyways, if you ever find yourself down this way, you got to go to that museum. It's really interesting. And they do show you everything. Like some things have been left, or the museum has on display. And then if they don't have it on display, they have a book that you can flip through. And it shows you the person who found it and all the items that they found. And you can kind of coincide it with certain, you know, mostly it's major storms is when they find all these gems and jewels. So, and they find... I guess they had olives, of course, on board. So there's like olive jars that they find. I'm trying to think of what they were in Florida for. It's probably something so simple, and I just can't think of it. And you know what I might do is look it up. In my next video, I'll tell you what it was. And they were taking that back to Spain with them. But they never made it. Well, they didn't make it back. I mean, I don't know if they ever truly made it back to Spain. They were eventually rescued, but I have a feeling that a lot of them ended up staying. I don't know if they stayed here, but they might have stayed at some part in some part of Florida. I'm not sure if they ever truly made it back home, so. And they might have told us during the tour or whatever, at the museum, but I might not have been, I see shiny things and I get distracted, so I think I was looking at everything trying to remember what it looks like, because when you find something that, this woman had a really good saying. She said, if it doesn't look like it's from the beach, then it's not from the beach, and you should look at it and, figure out what it is. Because a lot of the times it can be shipwreck stuff. If it's just like ore or metal or something like that, you're walking along the beach and you see a rock with metal in it, for instance. Yeah, that's probably part of a shipwreck, because basically what happens is, there's this thing called worm rock here, and these worms, they secrete this stuff that puts holes in rocks and things that are in the bottom of the ocean, basically. So I think I'm saying this right. My husband is the history buff, so. But anyway, so what happens is when that happens, and you have barnacles and all that kind of stuff that happen in the ocean too. The jewels and the parts of the ship and the dishes and all of that, they are on the bottom of the ocean, and then all the things that happen in the ocean happen to or around or on those things. So a lot of times if you find silver or gold from one of those shipwrecks, it doesn't look obviously like silver or gold. It could be in a rock, that has, you know what I'm saying. Things have happened to it, barnacles and this and that, and it has attached itself to the rock, and the sea life just happened around it, and so you oftentimes, you just probably wouldn't even recognize it. You would just think it was a rock and throw it back in and wouldn't think twice about it. So I was trying to look at these things and make sure I made note of what, So I do know if I see something on the beach and it doesn't look like it's from the beach, like a shell or, seaweed, or, if it doesn't look like anything like that, my husband, he actually bought some what do you call it, that acid, and he will actually use it on things that he has found on the beach to see if, a metal comes out of it. So anyway, I have quite a bit of beach metals that he has found, like I guess ores and, steel and that kind of thing that he has used that acid on. He found a really cool thing one time, and it actually got damaged. He found a tooth from a horse that was from the prehistoric time period, and I think it was called a three-toed or three. It was some type of a weird horse. It doesn't exist anymore. It's extinct. And he had actually found a tooth from it, and he did not know. He thought it was something else, so he actually accidentally damaged it trying to figure out what it was. But then later on, he Googled it and found that some people have found this tooth. And it was too late. It had already accidentally been damaged, so you can't take anything for granted what you find in the ocean, because it could definitely be something really cool. Well, I think it is that time. It is. I have got to get back to work. My lunch is over, so I will be back later on this evening, y'all, and we'll work on this some more. So I will talk to you guys later. Bye.